tell you we're live.
Okay.
All right, guys, we are live. We're live. We're live. We're live. Welcome back to Exposing Sierra Leone, a partnership between Sierra Leoneans killing it and authentic African. Every week, we go live to talk about the issues in our country and how we can work to solve them. Sometimes it's going to be topical, like the electricity problems that we had recently. Sometimes it will be conversations like this, talking about how do we fix the country, how do we bring the country forward. And other times it'll be discussions around things that are a little bit more uncomfortable in terms of, Bondo or FGM, as it's called by most people outside of the country, and things of that nature. But today, we are talking about how do we bring Sierra Leone forward. But before we do, I thought we could do some quick introductions so we can share who we are and what we're about. So let me actually pull it up. So I guess I'll introduce myself quickly and then I'll turn it over to my co host. So, my name is Joe Hatagua. I'm an American-born Sierra Leonean. I repatriated from the U.S. to West Africa in 2020. I was there for 3.5 years, almost 4 years, and I have recently begun the process of relocating back to the States, and I will be going back and forth to Sierra Leone about 4 times a year, about a month at a time. So a quarter of my time will be spent in Salone, so I'm kind of reversing things. But I'm the CEO of Authentic African, which is all about Pan-African breaking news, activism, culture, and history. And I help folks make decisions around buying African real estate, investing in Africa, and traveling to Africa. So that's a bit about me. I'll turn it over to my co-host to introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Admire. I was born and partially raised in Sierra Leone. I've been here since 2003 in the U.S. Came to Boston, grew up there, and then Atlanta. Now I'm in Houston. I am a licensed braider and an entrepreneur. I'm also the founder of the Sierra Leoneans Killing It page.
Network o, network o na
That's
your
it.
network.
Can you hear me?
I think we lost you for 2 seconds. I think now your network. Um,
Really?
I don't know. I'm not sure. Can you guys let us know if that was us, if that was on our, if that was me, my bad network, or was that in my end? Those of you watching, first of all, give us a thumbs up so we know that you guys can hear us. I forgot to do that. Give us a thumbs up so we know you guys can hear us, and also let us know where you're watching from, so we can ensure that first of all you guys are hearing us. I don't know from your end on your Instagram, Admire, if you can see anyone there, but on my end, I'm just now setting up the live. So you guys let us know if you guys can hear us. Um, but the last part of what Admire you were saying, maybe just repeat it again just in case. But you were saying that you're the founder of the Sierra Leoneans Killing It.
Yes. I was checking. I'm sorry. I was checking if
They heard.
people are on the Sierra Leoneans Killing It page. Yes, I was saying that Sierra Leoneans Killing It page, which is basically a page I started since 2016, where we highlight Sierra Leoneans who are positively killing it in our community. Also, we talk about topics like this. Joe and I have partnered, and we've been talking about different topics that we don't hear being talked about
Yeah,
at all. So, yeah.
absolutely. And so this one I think is an interesting one because it comes up often, right? With ABN, and you'll hear people in the country that will say that often. Ah, make salon de bien. We know
Right.
they go. We know they go before
We never
because
go before. Yeah, the continent they go before. All of that.
so you hear that a lot. And so I think today what we wanted to do is talk a little bit about what is causing people to say that. Like where actually are we? So we get an idea. And then with that, I think if we know where we are, we can start talking about what we can do. Right? What is not measured cannot be improved. So
Right.
um, so let's start with the last few days. Right? Those of you who know anything about Sierra Leone history, on the 27th, on Saturday, this past Saturday, was Sierra Leone's Independence Day. And the message from the president was we were going to pray on that day, right? He made a statement saying, with unity, freedom, and justice as guiding principles, he had highlighted the ongoing journey towards building a united, peaceful, and a flourishing republic. He acknowledged the progress made over the past 63 years, while also acknowledging the persistent challenges that lie ahead. He reiterated the importance of unity and cooperation in overcoming these challenges, emphasizing the need to build bridges of understanding and cooperation. He expressed optimism for a brighter future, more inclusive and prosperous future for all citizens of Sierra Leone. Now, I included that because I thought it was important to see that there were no specific policies discussed. Um, Thank you. Phoenix is saying happy birthday. It is my birthday today. Those of you who know, you know. I don't turn 40 today. 40, 40. Um, my birthday is also on Labor Day, Salon International Labor Day and Salon Labor Day. But I know I work on my birthday, on Labor Day and my birthday, because I work every day. American Labor Day, International Labor Day, Salon Labor Day, all the days I work. Anyway, I think it's interesting. The reason why I wanted to call this specific statement out is because there aren't any specific policies, and it's probably intentional. But I also want to make sure that we're reminded as a group, right? And the theme throughout this is going to be, don't always focus on the government to solve the country's issues. Many of the issues that are going to be solved in Sierra Leone are going to be done through the private sector, done through people like us. And I know a lot of people will watch these lives and say, why is it on us, the diaspora, to do anything? It should be on the government. And I think what you guys should know is that governments from time to time offer opportunities. Sometimes they offer land, agriculture, different things to make things easier for the entrepreneur to maximize revenue, to maximize. But generally, the government doesn't introduce programs that save countries. It's programs that are introduced that the private sector then utilizes to build things, right? And so that's going to be how we should be looking at this. And that was the Independence Day statement. Let's look at the Labor Day statement, much the same. And Labor Day, which was today, right? In his address, President Bill expressed gratitude and recognition for the dedication, hard work, and invaluable contribution of the nation's workforce to its progress and prosperity, emphasized the importance of International Labor Day as a reminder of the struggles and triumphs of the workers, not only in Sierra Leone, but also around the world. He reaffirmed the government's dedication to promoting social justice and economic prosperity for all, emphasizing the determination to build a nation where every Sierra Leonean can enjoy the rewards of their labor and actively contribute to national development. Now, that all sounds great, right? And I hope to see that as well. But it is going to be on the private sector to execute on the things that are going to allow that to happen, right? That's just what it is. As much as you guys would like to see the government say, here are the 35 policies that we're going to institute to ensure these things all change, it's going to be private sector that does a lot of that change. And so I just wanted to make sure I mentioned that. Phoenix Indigo is also saying that her birthday was a month ago, and her and I are the same age. Yeah, Pao just turned 40.
40. Honestly, 40 is the new 20.
Is it?
Or 30. I think 30. That's what they
30.
say.
I think it is the new 30.
20.
But yeah, so anyway, I wanted to just share the presidential address, the government's stance, on these issues. So there was an op-ed or an opinion post that was done on Sierra Loaded, which is a site that I frequent to get kind of the most up-to-date news. And it was interesting because what they said, I think, was perfect timing for what's going on. So I'm going to read what they said, and then I think we can kind of react to it or respond to it afterwards. So here's what the op-ed said. As Sierra Leone prepares to recognize the 63rd anniversary, so it's just before the anniversary, or just before the Independence Day, this person said, I continue to wonder why we still celebrate this as an achievement. What they said was Sierra Leone's journey from independence to democracy has been quite colorful, and we should be proud of the progress that has been made. However, they go on to say, we dare not boast of autonomy because this is what, in their words, because our leaders have put us in a position where we depend on development partners to fund all major initiatives. They go on to say this allows them to dictate the direction of our policies and our legislation. Example, the Finance Acts of 2023 and 2024 were developed by the International Monetary Fund with debt in mind, and Sierra Leone has been told that the Employment Act of 2023 was guided by the World Bank. Neither of these legislations encourage private sector growth or job creation, according to this person. Instead, they have put more of a burden on employers. So they also go on to say, as we continue to blame our leaders for the hardship we face on a daily basis, I'm aware that citizens of Sierra Leone, regardless of whether we work in the private, public, or NGO sector, or even live in the country, are also have responsibility to Sierra Leone. It is our job to ensure that we contribute towards a growing Sierra Leone's economy, which in turn will make it more independent. So I wanted to read that because it aligns with what I had been saying, right? That we can't focus solely on expecting the government to make those changes. But after hearing the last two slides and what this op-ed just said, what are your thoughts?
I agree with certain things he said, like him saying that it is our job. I like all of us as a people
Right,
to do something. There's something we must do, all of us. We can't
right.
just say every year or all the time, like, oh, Salon just Debian Debian. What are you doing to make Salon better?
Hmm.
Like, what are you doing? Are you doing anything? No. Are you just complaining? Then if you're just complaining, no change not get for happen. So you just get for complain forever and ever. But if you did try for find solution or for find people that way they try for come together and find solution, then you're making some type of progress towards change. So
Well put. And I think part of it for us is having these discussions, bringing folks together live to think
yeah,
about the things, to talk about them. People who are watching the replays, right, and using these platforms to get people thinking about it. Um, you know, it's a self fulfilling prophecy when you say Sierra Leone de bien, and we don't go before, because if you feel that way, it will continue to be that way until we do things to ensure that it's not that way, right? And
right.
so if we continue to have these kinds of conversations, we start coming up with solutions, and some of the things we're going to talk about today, I think as we do these things, we can start to see what we want to see. And having lived in Ghana for 2 years and also, visiting Nigeria, going to Gambia, going to Egypt, I see places where they've had success. And one of the things that I noticed was in Ghana in particular, Nigeria as well, many people leave and come back. So what you find is people come back when they're young enough to make a difference and to make a change, because it does take a lot of energy. You can't come back as a retiree in your 60s, 70s, and 80s and expect to make any change. You won't have the patience, the energy, or the know how to be able to make anything happen. You'll have wisdom, but you're living in a world that, operates by younger people. When you're that age, you'll be too old to really make any significant improvements or achievements, except maybe to finance certain things if you find them interesting. And so it is going to require folks in this age demographic, the Gen, everyone from Gen X,
Right.
all the way to, the Generation Alpha, I think is what they're calling them now. So all of these four generations that are on the planet now that are after the baby boomers, I think it's going to be up to us. And so with that, let's get back into this presentation, because I think there's some other things that I think that can help give context for what can be done and what's going on. Because
Yeah.
I wasn't aware of these things before I started looking them up and started sharing them with folks. So let's do that. So this is what the World Bank says. So the World Bank did a report in 2020, and it ranked Sierra Leone 163 among 190 countries in doing business. So that drops from 140 in 2015. So out of 190 countries, Sierra Leone is 163. And the reason why uh, the World Bank has called Sierra Leone that is, or given it that ranking, is because it highlighted some specific challenges. One, access to credit. If you guys are in Sierra Leone, you know if you want to get a loan, it's very hard. You can't. It's hard to get a loan past $5,000, and they want their loans paid back very quickly. Um, Resolving insolvency, which I can't remember what that means, but so I'm going to skip that. But access to electricity and construction permits, right? Some of the things required to build, you know, we have limited access to. But there are improvements in paying taxes and cross-border trade for starting business. But these are some of the issues. They also go on to have done an evaluation. And what they said specifically is that Sierra Leone lacks infrastructure necessary to support effective, this is in 2020, effective commercial activities. Poor quality and limited infrastructure pose major challenges to investment, domestic travel, inland transport, and normal operations. Efforts to construct major roads leading to district headquarter towns and to rehabilitate feeder roads linking agricultural suppliers to urban markets remain ongoing. Specifically, what they mean is if you're driving from Bo to Freetown, you'll find pineapples and watermelon and mangoes and people bananas, plantains, people selling this stuff on the way to Freetown. And so these roads have been fixed since 2020. There's a major road that has been fixed that goes kind of all the way um, to the outer provinces, and those roads have toll gates now. But those things have allowed it to become easier to get coal to the capital city, to get fruit and vegetables to the capital city, which starts the work and the flow of what they called here inland transport. The customs clearance procedure was also simplified, so bringing in things in and out of the country. If you've ever shipped a container to Sierra Leone, you know what kind of challenge that is, and it definitely challenges your ability to have patience, and it stretches your patience. And so that's one of the things that they've worked on making a little bit better. But I mean, I'd love to get your thoughts on this, Admire. The fact that the World Bank had ranked Sierra Leone 163 out of 190 countries in terms of doing business in 2020.
I mean, I understand from what I hear from people because I no longer live in Sierra Leone, but like I ask questions. I'm friends with people who are business owners, entrepreneurs that live in Sierra Leone, and the things that they tell me, I kind of understand why we will be ranked where we are. Like, for instance, business owners, like when it comes to like paying taxes for businesses, other countries like Ghana, they don't play that. Like if you don't pay, they lock it up. But if you in Sierra Leone, they don't seem to take any action. So like things like that is like it's like side eye vibes. So I understand why we are ranked where we are.
Yeah, and then separately from that, some of the things that they also talked about is the electricity issues, which we talked about, water
Of
issues.
course, yeah, all of that. And these are things we see. Not too long ago, power was out. And a lot of Sierra Leoneans that I follow on the Sierra Leoneans Killing It page or even on my personal page, they are like deeply annoyed. And but this is stuff that happens all the time. So I understand why we are where we are with that in the rankings. So
Yeah, and it's the norm, right? Like not having power for 8 hours on end is just kind of normal, which
right.
obviously that leads to so many challenges for a business, right? That needs to service its customers. Um, So, speaking of having no power, right? We saw this, right, with the car power ship and Sierra Leone not having paid the bill. It was a $27 million bill, down from 40 something million. But still, it's quite a substantial bill to pay. And so they decided not to to give us light. And even when I left on Saturday, we hadn't had light in over 24 hours, and it's just kind of it's an expectation. It's part of everyday life. It's just like you don't have light, and we talked about some of the ways that it affects everyday life in terms of education and innovation, compromising healthcare services, hampering communication and connectivity, dampening the quality of life, right?
Right.
And so there's just an urgent need for change. But in the absence of having a large infrastructure change, there are individual changes that people can do. I one of my experience last year when I first got to Sierra Leone, and then kind of subsequently, is I would lose power at least once a day last year, and my power would be off for 1 to 8 hours. No warning before power goes out, and there's no schedule that tells you when it'll go out. And when it comes back on, it's just a surprise. A surprise, we got light, which is exciting.
Lights don't come on.
Lights don't come, and that's it, right? I mean, that is the way you respond. Like you get excited. We don't get lights. Lights don't come on. But that obviously is not the ideal scenario, right? So we'll talk about some solutions, and the reason why we're talking about these problems, right, is because it's to help everybody understand when people say "we de bien," this is specifically what they mean when they say "we de bien." But then there are
Right.
specific solutions that people can do for themselves. And then I think if we have these solutions we do for our own personal lives, then there are more that we can do because we'll be able to come more often, we'll stay longer, and it leads to other benefits. So I like to call out these specific challenges and then why these specific challenges are in place. So one of the other things I like to kind of talk through is the current power situation in Sierra Leone. Um, so here's something that's really, really interesting. 13, and let's start on the picture on the right. 13% of the country has access to electricity. 13%. So we're not.
That's crazy.
That's crazy, right? And we're not talking about um, like constant power, right? We're just talking about at times they have power, right? It's
Yeah.
not all day every day. It's whenever power comes. 13% of the population has it. 1% of rural Salone has electricity, right? So you can think about some of the small villages and towns all around, everywhere around the country that don't have it. Um, the current installed capacity is 100 megawatts. So let me just read through this so you guys can kind of see where the challenges are. So the country's energy needs are hugely underserved, and the lack of reliable energy supply is a principal impediment on Sierra Leone's development. Electricity transmission and distribution network problems result in losses of about 45% of generated electricity. That means that even if the electricity is generated, 45% of it is lost because of the infrastructure challenges, right? Mr. Kai Kai says, "Happy birthday. Thank you, sir. I did see you just call me. I guess you noticed that I was on live. Thank you." Yeah. So that's an important, sorry to derail for a second, but that is important to that is important to know that of the electricity generated, 45% is lost. That's a big deal.
Yeah, that is.
The country's installed power capacity per capita is among the lowest in the world. So it's approximately 105 megawatts available for a population of over 7 million people. That was the number in 2018. The average person uses 25 kilowatts per year. So that's 175,000 megawatts per year, and there's only 105 megawatts available, right? So it just shows that the average person uses way more than what's even available for the whole country. So an example for context is the United States has about 1 million megawatts or 1.14 billion kilowatts of total utility scale electricity generating capacity. So they have 1.1 billion kilowatts, and they have 1 billion megawatts. Sierra Leone has 105 megawatts. Now
Oh,
the country sizes are completely different, but just to give you a scope, size and scope, right? I mean, there's 1 million wet megawatts for 350 million people in America. We have 105 megawatts for 7 million people in Sierra Leone. So it's disproportionately lower with Sierra Leone in terms of what we have available to
right.
um, our population. And so that
Yeah.
leads to the challenges that we were just talking about in terms of life, right? So I think that puts it a little bit into context. Did you know anything about these numbers? Did you know about this?
I did not. I really didn't. I've never looked it up. That's crazy. Like bonkers. Wow.
So when
Did you
people
guys know, you guys that are watching, like let us know in the comments if you knew any of this stuff because I did not. Specifically all these numbers, I didn't know. So if you know, let us know in the comments.
Yeah, and even if you didn't know, and also let us know what you think about it, right? But I mean, I think when you
Right.
have this kind of context, it does it doesn't excuse it, I guess, but at least it gives it a reason, right? Now you know the reason for it, right?
Right.
I think that's knowing is half the battle. Obviously we'd like to fix it, but that's one. So that's the issue with electricity. So I just wanted to call that out. We'll get into some of the other issues with water and other things, but I just thought it was important to call that out. Anyway, if anyone has any comments or thoughts on that, we can definitely get to that.
Speaking of comments, can I read some? People have been
Absolutely,
commenting on the Salon page.
yes,
That
please.
Salon TT said, "This I believe adds another layer that makes it difficult to sort of move back and invest in Sierra Leone when a lot of these people do not know how much their culture, do not know much about their culture, country, etc."
That's fair. We're going to talk about what you can do to make it easier to move back. By the way.
And she also said, "So really, how do you bring these kinds of topics to this group of people?" By talking about it, like I would say, like spreading awareness, like sharing our page, telling other Sierra Leoneans that hey, they talk about every week. They talk about Sierra Leoneans killing it, authentic African. They talk about topics regarding Sierra Leone. You should join. You should tune in. Like sharing our platforms, sharing
Mhm.
the live right now would be a great deal. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, I think the first thing is awareness, right? Awareness is the first thing you need to do. The more awareness we have, the more solutions that can be derived, and then the implementation of those solutions is going to take that next group of people. It's going to take a lot of awareness. There's going to be a few people that have solutions, and there's going to be even fewer people that actually execute on those solutions. But the more awareness we have, the more we communicate these things, the more we build that funnel of people that actually end up solving the challenges that we're talking about. And so we're starting by just wanting to build awareness, right? And Maya and I, that was our goal here, right? Is to talk about the things that other people aren't talking about. But we don't want to just be on the internet complaining, right? That wasn't the goal. The goal here was to say, here are some of the challenges. These are what the issues are. These are why these are the issues. And then here are some of the solutions and things that we think you can do to kind of work on these things. So, um, yeah, so I think you were spot on. Everyone needs to share this with as many people as you know who are Sierra Leone or in the Sierra Leonean diaspora,
Yeah.
um, because
Um,
that's the only way to solve these problems. Right.
I'm sorry to cut you off. She wanted a correction. She had made a comment prior to the first one and then that one. The first one was, I think it's important to know that many of the people in the generations you mentioned become first generation and so forth, dual citizens of the countries their parents immigrate to. So that was her first comment to what we were talking about earlier. Just wanted to correct that because she
Okay.
commented and was like, that was for earlier.
Yeah. So I mean, I think what you're saying is true, right? Like I'm a first generation American, right? So I was born in the United States. My entire cultural experience has been mostly American. But once I went to Sierra Leone, I saw challenges that needed to be solved, and then later I saw a life that I could build. Um, but I do think that that's part of why I have the platform that I have, and why I wanted to partner with Admire, because I think if everyone got what I got in terms of like meeting people that were living in Sierra Leone that repatriated, who were living a life that they loved, and they were helping to make change. I think more people who see that will start to come up with solutions, and also ensure that we do what we can to move the country forward, right? And so that's always the goal. And so yeah, so we are walking the walk, not just talking the talk, right? So
Right.
anyway, all right, cool. Any other comments?
Let me check. Thank you, by the way, that Salon TT for commenting. Um, I'm
Yeah.
going all the way to the top since I haven't seen anything.
Well, while you're looking,
Um,
okay, go ahead.
somebody,
Go ahead.
I cannot say her at name, but she said that's right. Black people, Africans, depend and blame our leaders too much.
Correct. That's correct.
And then that same person, she said happy birthday to you. Um, yeah, that's
Right.
it so far.
All right,
But
cool.
you guys feel free to comment as we're talking. Comment your thoughts, and we will like share the comments. We want you guys to engage with us. Let us know what you think about the issues. Let us know what you think as Joe is reading and letting telling us all this information. So una no shame, una no afraid, una make sure una comments na the comment section, okay? And una share the live as well. Share the live, please.
Share for sure. Um, so yeah, on the note of internet, right? So MiFi's. I think I've spoken to you guys about this before. I've shown it on screen before, but this is a MiFi, right? It's a MiFi. It's a small router. Most of us who live in the West, we're used to a router with a antenna on it. It's next to your TV. You have an Ethernet cord plugged into the wall, or if you are on fiber, you have fiber. Many people in West African countries, actually all over the continent, what I've seen is people have these MiFis, and they're just like a hockey puck style or size little device, and that operates just like a wireless router, but you walk around with it everywhere you go. But there are routers that you can put in your house too, and you can set up fiber optic cables as well. But before I talk about that, I do want to talk about why the internet shortages have been so challenging. And in late 2022, Sierra Leone's NatCom, that's the National Telecommunications Commission, announced that all telecoms operators were to increase prices for mobile data. Um, this led to mobile data prices rising by more than 150% for mobile users in Sierra Leone, causing serious disruptions to people's everyday mobile use. So what happened then is there were a rush on people trying to get these MiFis to try to subscribe to more MiFi data, because the mobile MiFi that you put on your phone was becoming too expensive. And so Africell, Orange, um, QCell all ran out of MiFis in Freetown. And at the time that I had worked on this presentation, I had gone to 4 different locations for Africell in particular. I had gone to 2 locations for Orange, including the head office, and I had gone to 1 location for QCell, 2 locations for QCell. None had MiFis. Even to this day, I don't have a MiFi that I purchased myself, um, anything that I purchased after 2020. The MiFi that I was using when I was last in Sierra Leone, this was my cousin's MiFi. He had purchased this a couple weeks before I moved to Sierra Leone, and he gave it to me because he was leaving and he wasn't coming back anytime soon. But that's the challenge that you have, is um,
Oh, wow.
things like that. The new tariffs for mobile data usage, so they had increased demand for the MiFis, right? So that's why so many people were using MiFis. And separately from that, just the internet service altogether is very spotty. And so and you need to have backups. And so one, if you use fiber, let's say, or you have home internet at your house, if power goes out, you no longer have access to internet because those things don't have batteries in them. They're only working off of the power, the light situation. So then you're right back to having to use one of these in order to continue to stay on the internet, right? You have to jump off of that particular internet connection to that one. And so these are some of the challenges that you have with internet. So we talked about the challenges with electricity. Now we're talking about the challenges with the internet. Um, and then next, I want to get into water. But before I do, were there any questions, comments, or thoughts that we haven't gotten to yet from anybody online?
Uh,
I'm going to check my comments as well, see if there's anything.
okay. Um, Joe said wave machines on the coast create endless electricity that can be stored and retributed. So you don't see this to expand on it. That's what he said.
Yeah, so I think that's even what Car Powership is using, if I'm not mistaken. So yes, I think that that's interesting. I think that the biggest challenge here is this. Um, as that earlier slide said, 45% of what's produced is lost. So even if they're producing a lot more, utilizing power from the water off the coast, you're still losing a ton. So until the infrastructure has been completely overhauled, which is something that they're working on right now, you're still going to continue to run into some of these challenges with power loss, right? Not to mention other things like, for example, the transformers in the different neighborhoods, right? The transformer where I am in Regent sometimes just goes out and then it's off. It doesn't work for hours, and they come out to fix it, and then it breaks again. And so there are a multitude of issues overall, and we'll talk about solutions again, which I've spoken about previously, but we'll talk about them in particular here. But we just wanted to kind of give you the framework for the issues right now, so you understand why so many people are saying the things that they're saying. Right? We they bien, we know they go
Right.
before, and people are complaining. So once we get the issues out on the table, we can talk about the solutions, right? And then how that helps the country progress overall. One question that Tim Black had was, are they making any progress to fix these issues? So in terms of Guma and water, I haven't heard much, and we'll talk about what some of the challenges are next. The MiFi, the telecom companies, what I am finding is they haven't solved the challenges on the MiFis as of yet. I don't know why they don't just order more. For the life of me, I don't get that. But in particular, what I see is happening is there's a company called Metro. Orange is also doing it, but Metro is working with local telecom companies to expand fiber optic cables and building a fiber optic cable network throughout the country. So then that way you have a stronger internet connectivity for everyone who wants to connect to the internet. You know, as you guys might have noticed, I've been live, haven't been chopping up, in and out, going out like I normally do, because I'm in New York City right now, and we are on. I'm pretty sure we're on fiber optic cable right now here in New York City. I think it's Verizon Files, if I'm not mistaken. And so, although the internet won't be as fast as in the States, once we have fiber set up in many of the different regions in Sierra Leone, you'll be much better off having fiber in home than you will otherwise. I think what's going to need to happen though is just going to need to be more competition to reduce the prices. Because right now, and which we'll get into a little bit later, the prices are pretty exorbitant, and it's cost prohibitive. It makes people not want to do it. But I don't want to get too much into that now because I'll get to that in a second. But I just wanted to make mention of that. All right, so let's move on to the water. Because water is another issue. What's happening?
I don't know. I think you come back to this because you were there.
Okay,
Water.
here we go. Back to the water. Okay, so water supply in Sierra Leone is characterized by limited access to safe drinking water. Despite efforts by the government and numerous NGOs, access has not much improved since the end of the Sierra Leone Civil War in 2002, stagnating at about 50% and even declining in rural areas. in terms of who has access to clean drinking water. Nearly 90% of Freetown's water is sourced from the Guma Reservoir, which has a storage capacity of more than 20 million cubic meters and a depth of 66 meters. The reservoir is impounded by the Guma Dam, an earth-fill dam constructed between 1961 and 1967, located 15 kilometers south of Freetown. Now, here's what's important about the years. The reason why I emphasize the years like that is because much of the facilities at the Guma Reservoir have not been updated since 1961 to 1967. Much of the
It's crazy.
facilities have not been updated since then. There is a Freetown water project that has been ongoing. That's been running since 2017, and there was some work to kind of get it to the right place. But I mean, we're talking about the infrastructure challenges, right? We're talking about the reason why, where I have my house, we get water twice a week, and they even ration it. We get water twice a week, and sometimes it's only once a week. Like 2 weeks ago, it was only on Saturday. Last week, it was Wednesday and Saturday, but it's only for 30 minutes, right? So
Oh
we're
wow.
connected to Puma. We pay a bill every month, and we get it for 30 minutes. And so, obviously, that's not, like I have a construction work going on site right now, and they can't do what they need to do without water. And so I've had to pay a water bowser $80 to fill up two of my tanks. That's not sustainable to pay $80 every, because the water we
Right.
are using runs out in a week because I have major construction going on. And so, and then I've had to pay 300 leones here, 300 leones there, another 300 leones, and that starts to add up as well for someone else locally to come pump water for us. It takes longer to pump it, and they're not always available to pump for us. And so, it does cause major challenges. For example, just the everyday bathing, washing
Right.
clothes, washing dishes, and the water is not that clean. I mean, you see in this image at the top of the screen, that people are going to like the beach, to get water. Many people now, what they'll do is they'll line up. Somebody will have a tank on the side of the road. They pump water into that tank from a well, and then they charge people like 5 leones to fill up a 5 gallon bottle of water to take back home with you. So some people, when the water opens, they go there, they take a couple of 5 gallons. You have a couple of kids go together, and they, like you usually send your kids to do stuff. Your kids are like your remote control. Like I need you to go do that. And they'll go do it. So you have these kids, and families walking with these 5 gallons from the place that services the water to where they have to go to live. Even in Bow, where my aunt and uncle live, you know, the person who works for them had been, uh, you know, allowing some people to get water once they fill up the tank, and they come there and it's like little kids, like having like a bowl, like this kid must have been like 6 years old, had a little bowl that they were carrying on their head and trying not to spill the little bowl of water, but whatever little water that they could get themselves and their two older siblings were coming to get water. I mean, water is it's an issue, right? It's a real
Yeah.
issue.
People have been commenting regarding the water. The same guy Joe said, but it's endless constant waves, so we gain more than we lose. He also said affordable solar panels works for the larger population than just the rich. So if we produce them, we can make the prices more affordable without importation taxes on it.
That is true. That is
He,
true.
he also said water issues can be solved by two ways: domestic and commercial filters, which is number one, and the process of reverse osmosis,
Yeah.
which is number two. He said, I can expand if you like.
No, he's right. So
We,
this person, he's obviously a scientist. Joe is a scientist for sure. So, so a couple of things, because I think you're making good points. So the first thing I will mention, when Joe was talking about the solar options, um, Yes, if you can, the issue with finding low cost solar options is who's paying for it, right? So we're talking about if the government's paying for it, okay, that could be interesting, right? If the government has if they're going to put money into that kind of infrastructure and energy, that would be great. If it's private sector businesses, they need to generate revenue in order to pay for those things. I think the other thing to keep in mind is um, solar panels are one thing, batteries are the things that store the power. And because all solar panels do is recharge the batteries. So, what batteries do we have, big enough ones, in the right places to be able to power uh, large swaths of the population? And then specifically, the infrastructure yet there to do so. And so I think these are things that we have to consider and we know are going to take some work to ensure that we get there. Um,
Right.
these are all solutions. These are all good solutions. And he also talked about reverse osmosis. If I'm not mistaken, reverse osmosis is, if I'm not mistaken, it's taking moisture from the air or removing salt from seawater. I can't remember which one it is in particular, and then make it available for drinking. And especially he was mentioning the filters too. Yes, you're gonna have some strong filters to make sure none of the parasites and everything get through them. But yes, filters are also really, really good and will be necessary. But we need large scale versions of them, and but these are all great solutions. And so
Yeah.
those of you who are out there in the world who know people who are in these businesses who either would be willing to donate them as a CSR arm, let's say like, Essentia, the water I was just drinking, if a company like that, anybody knows a company like that that's producing a lot of water and is using a lot of these filtration systems to put the water in the water bottles that we're getting, if you can find people like that to offer those solutions to a country the size of Sierra Leone, um, these are all really good solutions, but they require, ingenuity and a commercially viable option to be able to do it at scale in Sierra Leone. But I do like all those solutions. Though. You got the science right. That's for sure.
Right. Thank you
Um,
again, Joe. He said reverse osmosis is the process of turn seawater to drinking water. It's what
okay,
cruise ship does. Thank
okay,
you for the correction, Joe.
yeah. So I knew it was one of those two things. It was either taking it out of the air or it was turning salt water into drinking water. So yeah, that's so those are all really good solutions, and to see more of them. Any other comments on the water?
Um, so far, no, just Joe. Thank you, Joe. Please keep commenting, and for those who have just joined us, please comment your thoughts on these issues. Engage with us on
Yes, engage with us for sure.
Joe.
Admires
It
admires.
was not me.
It was me.
Why you, am I getting all this? Why you keep thinking it's for me?
Also, it was my side. It was
I
my.
don't know. I don't know, to be honest. I don't
Okay.
know.
Um. Well, I was saying admires on the terrace, and so it may be you see the nice, beautiful background there. So she's outside right now. So there may be some interference with her connectivity. Who knows?
I'm,
I'm not
okay.
blaming you. I'm just saying it could be that. All right. So okay, where are we at here?
The issues, we just finished talking about the water issues, and then
Oh
Joe
yeah.
had a comment, and yeah.
So this is what Guma says. Now this is from 2020, so it's a while back. But Guma is the water company we were just talking about. Guma Valley Water Company needs $1 billion to improve access to drinking water. So this is from something. This is from the Sierra Leone Telegraph from February 18th, 2020. But I thought it was important to share this. So the deputy manager of Guma Water Company at that time, Francis Lahai, had told journalists in Freetown that the company had needed about $1 billion to achieve its target of adequately supplying clean drinking water across the capital. That's just to supply it in Freetown. Speaking from the Guma headquarters in Freetown, he had said the Guma Valley was created initially to provide access to clean drinking water for about 600,000 people living in Freetown. But demand has now, over the last few decades, has grown to over 2 million people. So it was made for the capacity of 600,000. The
Mhm.
demand now is 2 million. And by the way, that's the demand, meaning people who actually plug into Guma. There are many more people who don't even have access to plugging into the Guma water system who also need water, right? So, they said that was 2 million, but it could be a lot more. And so, I think that gives a little bit of context as to why it hasn't been going so well water wise for most people, right? I mean, there's just that speaks to the issues right there. Um,
Right.
all right, so what are some of the solutions, right? And here's why I wanted to talk about personal solutions first, is because we all see these problems and these challenges. That a lot of times tends to be a deterrent for people going to Sierra Leone, moving to Sierra Leone, or staying in Sierra Leone for extended periods of time. So I want to talk about the solutions because I think if we have these solutions and we have people reversing that thought process, continuing to go, moving to the country, and staying for extended periods of time, we can see some of the changes we want to see in the country because we start employing more people, we start bringing our ideas and solutions, we start adding new businesses, right? All of these things are things that we can do once we have people who are comfortable while they're in
Yeah.
Sierra Leone, right? If you take care of the basic necessities, it ensures that people are going to continue to offer solutions and not only talk about these solutions from here while we have access to all those resources, but talk about solutions from there because the basic necessities are taken care of, and now you can focus on some of the things that you can do to improve the everyday life of folks around you. So obviously, if you personal challenge, you having no light, get a generator or solar. Some of the challenges with generators is they're loud, they require a lot of fuel, they're not eco-friendly, but they can be a bit cost effective. For a really good one, you can spend about $1,000 and have enough power to power ACs, freezers, deep freezers, big freezers, all of that kind of stuff. If you get the big industrial size one, like the images you see on the right at the bottom, if you get the one on the top right, which is the one I have, maybe run a fan on it, maybe one low voltage AC. But I remember I had my gen on and I put on a hot water heater. You know those hot water heaters where you press the button and it starts heating the tea kettle.
Yeah.
And as soon as I hit that, you hear the generator go, and the lights start flickering, and it's like that is so high powered that it actually it unbugged this generator where I get.
Oh wow.
So
So it's more powerful so much that they destroy. Oh
exactly. Exactly.
wow.
So you do have to take that into consideration. If you want to be cheap up front and buy like a $300 generator, just know it's going to be limited in its capacity. You could pay $1,000 and get one that's better. Now, separately, there's the option of solar, right? There are a couple of different solar companies in the country. These were just some that I mentioned high level. But you can get anything from like an easy solar, a little mini system just to keep light on in the house and charge your devices when light goes out. Or you could do a complete off the grid solution like what Exergy was offering, which was $3,400 or up to $10,000 for certain elements. Orange Telecom has its own energy solution that they're introducing around West Africa and now specifically in Sierra Leone as well. I mean, so there are solutions, personal solutions that you can have. So again, that you're more comfortable while there, so you'll be more willing to travel more often, and not kind of just write off the idea of going to Sierra Leone because you're going to run into all these challenges.
Right.
Any questions or comments before I move on to the internet?
Mercy. Joe said, add me. We can put minds together. Thank you both. I would love to work with you in the future or near future on the same issues to bring more sustainable developments to Sierra Leone. I have to go now, but great minds think alike, and I think if we work together, we can achieve more quicker. Joe, thank you so much. He left, but thank you so much for uh, engaging with us. we would love to work with you as well. We want people to come and join the live. We want you guys to discuss with us. So if you're seeing this and you want to talk you want to be on the panel and talk with us, right, Joe? Like
Absolutely.
we would definitely appreciate that. Please reach out to Joe or myself, and let's plan it for the for next week's live.
Absolutely, and we want experts in the field, right? Like I am not an expert at all. I can only speak to what I'm learning from talking to people
Yeah,
and doing research. And so we do need folks who actually do this for a living, because
right.
that's what it's going to require. Again, it's going to require us doing this. We cannot rely on government to do any of this, and so people like Joe, you obviously have the ideas. If you're able to execute on those, we'd love to have you talk about it more in specifics here, or even work to try to introduce you to folks who may be able to help you execute those ideas and plans in the country. So all will be welcome. Unfortunately, he's already gone, but I hope he emails us or DMs us. Um,
Right.
you know,
Please, Joe. Yeah, when you see this, if and when you do, and if I don't forget, I'll reach out to him and I'll send you his Instagram when we're done. If I don't forget, but please, Joe, reach out to Joe himself or myself, and we would love to have you and anyone else that's watching as well.
yes, correct, 100%. All right, so the internet. So we talked about home internet. So you have Zen, you have K3. K3, I think, is now under the Metro umbrella. I don't know if you can see this home packages here on the right hand side. So let me tell you the prices in case you can't see the dollar amounts, because na dollar they put out.
Really? Oh
Put
my
down.
gosh!
Na dollar.
Now by dollar they charge.
Yes. So we're talking about 3 Mbps, 5 Mbps, 10 or 15. And just so you know, in America, it's like 45 and 100 plus. So this Sierra Leone goes up to 15. Now, I don't know if you can see these prices, but be ready to be shocked. So for 3 Mbps to have fiber at home, it is $40 a month to get 3 Mbps. Again, the United States is a minimum of 45. So if you're gonna get 3 Mbps, it's $40 a month. If you want 5 Mbps, it's $60 a month. If you want 10 Mbps, it's $100 a month. If you want 15, it's $150 a month for Zen Internet. So just be clear, right? Like, so this is what this one costs. And there's another internet company that also offers $69 for 20 Mbps, much better, $99 for 45 Mbps, and $139 for 65 Mbps. Now, they're saying that's what they offer. So much higher Mbps availability and packages, but they are expensive, right? $69 is the lowest price that they had at 20 Mbps. So, if you want US style speed, upload and download speed, um, the lowest US style speed, it's $139 a month or over $100 a month.
Wow, that's expensive.
I mean, fiber in the United States is like $60, right?
Right.
So, like, just to keep it in context for folks, right? So, again, this is why we always talk about if you're planning to move back to the continent, make sure you have your finances in order, because you are gonna pay to get the same kind of lifestyle you're used to. And
Right.
it just, as taken from someone who just recently left, because this was one of the challenges that I was having. It does require you to have an additional budget for these things. You have to have contingency plans in place to deal with this stuff. The MiFi's, you can get AfriCell, you can get Orange, you can get QCell. Cell phone, most people have Orange, but these are the options you have for internet. By the way, there are other MiFi options or Wi-Fi options at home. I think Orange has its own fiber service now too. I don't have pricing for Orange's fiber, and AfriCell I think is launching fiber as well. So there are some solutions, some options, but just know you're gonna be paying for them, right? They do cost money, but
Yeah.
there are solutions that'll help, and if you have that, then you can stay longer, do more, think less about the little issues that you have to deal with and be able to kind of do more. I always say this, you know, people don't really care about the, what the solutions are to something if they can't even just basically turn on the water, right? Like if I can't get water, I don't care that Guma was only made for 600,000 people, and now it's 2 million people they're trying to service, right? That's not the thing that they care about. They don't want to hear that. They just want to know, when am I going to get water turned on, right? Or when it comes to power, they don't want to hear that like 45% of it gets lost. They just want to know, like, when am I going to get light? And so I think even as us as individuals, I think once we have some of those basic problems solved for ourselves, we can think about bigger solutions. And so that's why I wanted to talk about individual personal solutions that you can do if you're traveling to
Yeah.
Sierra Leone to make your life easier, because then you'll travel more often and you'll do more to employ people. I've been doing a lot of talking. Any other thoughts, comments from people?
No, you're right though. You're absolutely right. Let me see. Somebody
Which,
said more
go ahead.
people should be on this live. That's correct. Hopefully with time and as we continue to go on live, people will start talking because I mean, I'm sure it's new for them too, like us talking about stuff like this. It's new
Yeah,
for us, it's new for everybody. Nobody is talking about these things on their platforms. So I understand some people may think, oh, it's boring. Oh, I know I'm for I joined Bakamode. Like, you know how our people are, to be quite honest.
yeah.
But hopefully, you know, Salon Queen 95, hopefully more people join. You could help by sharing the live, sending it to other Sierra Leoneans so they could come on, and also engaging with us. She said, "I'd like to share my experience." We would love that. Please reach out to either Joe or myself. We would love to have you on next week's segment because we're about done with this segment. But we would love to have you. Yes, please. Salon Man 202 said, "Is this just for travel back home or improving conditions for our family back home?" Forgive me, I just joined.
It's for improving conditions for family back home. I mean, the idea is the more we can improve, um, like the more we can improve our own individual lives, the more we can improve broader people's lives. Like one of the things,
And also, the more we can encourage, it will make we feel happy for go back now because that's
exactly,
our home. For go back
exactly.
in Dede. Yeah.
Exactly. And the reason why I like to talk about personal solutions that you can do for yourself is it kind of reminds me of like when you're on the plane, they're like, put the oxygen mask on yourself before you put it on someone else, like a child, because you can't both lose oxygen. It's not helpful, right? So you need to get it on yourself first before you help someone else, right? So same kind of thing
Right.
here. Come up with these solutions for yourself first so you have the capacity to help and to do more while there, right? So that's a big part of what this is. Couple questions that are coming. Dele is asking, have you thought about sourcing solar panels out of China? Yes, it's something that I've thought about, and it's something people are doing. It's really more about the batteries. The panels are cool, but the batteries are the things that you really have to think about. Do the batteries have warranties? How long do the warranties last? Do they work? Because that's the thing. You can have a bunch of solar panels, but the solar panels are really just charging batteries, and the batteries is what's giving you actual energy. So as long as you have batteries that are good and that can survive that heat as hot as it gets and as hot as they get, then you're safe. But that's the big thing is sourcing batteries and sourcing solar panels. That is true. You do need to do that. Starlink in Sierra Leone. Starlink is not in Sierra Leone as of yet, as far as I understand, but I do think it's in Ghana. So, as far as I understand, I think it's moving there. So, Starlink is Elon Musk's thing project, where it's a satellites in space to offer internet services around the continent of Africa. But I heard it's like $200 a month, if I'm not mistaken. So, actually, sorry, I think it is in Sierra Leone, but I think it's like $200 a month. Somebody will have to correct me, but I do think it's quite expensive. But it's satellite internet, so you're
Oh
connected
wow.
directly to the satellite. Yeah, it's supposed to be really good. So I'm told. But if you can afford $200 a month, then by all means get Starlink. Um, Okay, so going back to that op-ed from Sierra Loaded, one of the things that I thought was interesting is that they wrote 63 ways in which you can contribute towards making Sierra Leone more independent. Now, some of these things speak to something the government can do, but some of these things are things that people can do individually. So, like acquire and apply competencies that would make you employable. Now, that's speaking to the general population and general public. And the one thing that I think is important, because they made that number one, is that people need to know what is employable. Like what job skills, what competencies will make you employable, and who has jobs, right? So that's really important. So, although that was a good first bullet point on this list, I think you can't just throw out solutions without context. And I know the idea of this op-ed was just to say, here are things that can be done. You figure it out. But I do think you need more context here. There needs to be more discussed about what exactly can be done to ensure
Right.
that you maximize the making people employable. It says
Right.
act honestly. Yeah. Well, yeah. I think that's another thing. Um, some things say do not hoard money, do not inflate prices. Right. These are all things that are different sectors of the economy, different groups, different people can do. I'm not going to go through each one of them. I think they're interesting, and I think what we can do is in the description we can share what the link. Actually, I'll share the link in the comments here if you guys want to see what those solutions were. Give me a second because I did just see the link for it. I do want to share it. Um, yeah, to the op-ed. So you guys want to see the full list? That I'll put the link here in the comments. So yeah, after this live is over, go head over there and read it and see if you find it helpful or useful. But there are a lot of things on this list, and I just wanted to say, like, I mean, they even put practice personal hygiene, practice patience, pay your income tax, pay your local tax, pay your business license and property tax, pay attention to detail. Um, yes, and yes, all of those, yes.
Right.
Um, but I think these are all different areas throughout the economy and through all different socioeconomic levels. I think these types of things um, need to be narrowed down. 63 is a lot. But I think if you have principles to live by, think about like successful companies. They have like their 10 core principles, or they have their 4 core principles, and they always live by those principles. And they determine who they hire based on those principles. They determine who they fire based on those principles. They determine who they promote. They determine what partnerships they have based on those principles. And so I think if we have those kinds of principles, some of which are on this list, I think then you can anticipate seeing better outcomes in countries for sure. Um, any thoughts on anything you see here? I don't know if you can even see it. It's really small.
Honestly, I can't really. I could
Yeah.
see it's just like kind of really like uncomfortable. Throw your litter in the bin or take it home with you. Treat all citizens equally. Visit Sierra Leone. Volunteer in your community. Work diligently.
You saw that, didn't you?
Start a business. Right.
So,
Um,
so there's a
yeah,
lot
I
there.
could read, I could see some, but like it's really small. But this is, I think this list itself is like a topic idea for us to
Right.
like. Maybe we can break it down into like 4, 5, 6 parts, just
Yeah.
so we can go over like maybe 10 each segment and have the people's comments and opinions about it. This is a really good thing to we can continue in talking about for sure.
Yeah, I think we can do like a parts 2 through 5, right? Where we
Right, yeah.
kind of
And then
force.
we can have like what's her name? One of the girls she wants to Salon Queen 95. She wants to join us and talk about her experience. We can talk about some of these things and she can talk about her experience and yeah.
Absolutely.
Salon Man 202 said, uh what's the YouTube channel? Our the Sierra Leoneans killing it one is literally Sierra Leoneans killing it and Joe, yours is authentic African, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so Authentic African Sierra Leoneans killing it on YouTube. Is there a shareable link to today's presentation? We are going to direct you guys. You can watch the whole live to our YouTube channels. Um,
Yeah.
Also, if you want the link, it'll be posted on YouTube, as Joe said. Later on, the link that has all these 63 ways in which you can contribute to making Sierra Leone more independent. But yeah, he also said, sorry, Salon Man 202 also said, is our help welcome by home based Sierra Leoneans, or are we just outsiders, JCs to them?
Two things can be true. You can be a JC and your help is welcome, right? So yeah, I mean that's not it's a mutually exclusive. I think is the phrase I'm looking for. So yeah, I mean look, I think for better or for worse, Sierra Leone is always dependent on people, whether it's JCs or Europeans or NGOs or whatever. You know, Sierra Leoneans are used to having their hand up. So um, are they going to welcome the help? Yes, absolutely. Are you still a JC? Yes. So they're mutually exclusive, but it's not necessarily a bad thing in terms of you being a JC, for example. But yeah, I mean, I do think that they do welcome help for sure, uh, because it's necessary and everybody knows it's needed. And I think more and more I'd have these discussions with folks and we talk about how we need to work together for the advancement of the country. It can't just be people in the diaspora, it can't just be people on the ground. We need each other's context and experience to kind of lift the continent as a whole. But specifically, we're talking about Sierra Leone. That's what's necessary. Um, Knowledge Seeker says, what do you think it is? Incompetence, lack of caring, intentional sabotage, or just fate, or maybe a bit of everything that keeps these problems existing? All except intentional sabotage. I don't think anybody's intentionally sabotaging, like not like a high level. Um, do some people not want to cooperate with the federal government because they don't want to see them have big wins because they're from the opposing party? Sure. So in that case, maybe there might be some intentional sabotage. But in
Yeah,
general, I don't think it's necessarily. I mean, I guess it's fate because it's what's happening. So you can call it fate because it's what's happening. But I do think um, lack of caring in some cases, incompetence in other cases, do lead to these kinds of things. But also, it's more often than not, it's just improper planning for the future, right? We develop infrastructure and things for populations of the size it is currently. We don't think about what the population can explode to 20, 30 years from now. And
right.
so when things aren't getting modified or fixed regularly, you're dealing with something that was made for 1968 usage and it's 2024. So yeah, I mean, I do think that that's probably the bigger issue is the lack of long-term planning.
Yeah, agreed.
All right. So market opportunities, real quick. So a couple things to think about in terms of things that you all can do business wise, right? Because there's always these questions about what can I do, what kind of business makes sense, what can I do, what's working right now. This question comes up all the time, right? And so let's talk about it, right? So number one, Sierra Leone does have a favorable tropical climate with fertile soil. That's obviously advantageous for agriculture. We have extensive continental shelf with numerous varieties of fishery resources as well. And there's also a natural environment offering touristic prospects and vast mineral resources. So where the economy has the potential, the five areas of the economy where it has the most potential, agriculture, as just mentioned, fisheries is also where you can find a good amount of potential. Mining is going to be tough. That is an industry it's hard to break into. It's like a small insular community of folks who work with each other, and they're very private. Tourism is another place. You know, a company like Visit Sierra Leone doesn't really have much competition. You know, they do a really good job of doing local tourism. They do, you know, airport pickup, things like that. But there aren't a lot of people who offer those kinds of services. And so There are other companies that are around that do little like tours and trips and stuff. Salon Hidden Gems, things like that. So there are companies that are there. However, there aren't a ton, right? And so if you could figure out how to make tourism interesting, that's somewhere else you can get into. And then small scale manufacturing, right? If you can build some of the things that are necessary in country, you can find a way to be able to mass produce things, and you can not only do it for yourself and your business, but also rent that to other people who need it, right? One of the
Yeah.
things one of the things that's not on here is construction. And anytime you have a growing country, like a growing upper class, you're going to want to have services that you provide to those people, and those people like to spend money on building big houses. So that's a sixth area that I think has a lot of opportunity as well. Any thoughts on anything from this page?
Um, Not from the comment section, but
Okay.
um, I like the potential five main areas, like especially tourism. Like for those that live there, if you have your license or like if you could drive, you have a car, you can turn your car into like a taxi gig type thing. Can you do that?
You can.
Yeah, you could be a private driver, start your driving company. Even if you get bike, that's a way of making money as well. Um, yeah, I like those five potential areas that you can make money in.
Absolutely. And then so here are other market opportunities. So one of the things I've talked about before, and I mentioned this to you guys before, right? When when I had mentioned that Sierra Leone is a country of maybe 7 to 8 million people, right? So it's limited in its size and scope. But Sierra Leone is a part of a number of different regional blocks, right, and regional trading partners. So there's the Mano River Project. So there's a river called the Mano River that basically touches four countries: Guinea, Liberia, Cote d'Ivoire, and Sierra Leone. Cote d'Ivoire, of the four countries I just mentioned, is the most advanced. And so tapping into those other three countries is going to be huge for Sierra Leone with the Mano River Project. And I think, if you are in this space at all, in the NGO space, you are a government type person, these are the kinds of, and you want to do projects with the government, these are the organizations you want to try to tap into. Because although Sierra Leone only has, let's say 8 million people, in terms of the folks in Liberia, Guinea, Cote d'Ivoire, and in Sierra Leone combined, it's 50 million people. It's a lot bigger of a number that you can deal with. Same for ECOWAS. Now, ECOWAS has lost a couple of nations recently, right? We're talking about, Mali, so big chunk, Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso are exiting ECOWAS, and they're building their own regional bloc, the Sahel states. But still outside of them removing themselves from ECOWAS, you still have the rest of ECOWAS, which is going to be somewhere south of 400 million people, but quite a
Mhm.
substantial number of people, right? And so, that means that, we're talking about 13 different countries or so that are all a part of this regional bloc that Sierra Leone can tap into. And you, as someone who wants to be in an NGO, or if you have ideas that you want to implement, these are the kinds of groups you want to try to talk to. The folks who represent ECOWAS in Sierra Leone, the folks who work who operate Mano River Union in Salon. I know someone personally. My cousin-in-law, I guess, I don't know what you call it. My cousin's wife works for Mano River Union, and so these are the kinds of things that if someone has a good idea, I can make an introduction. Those kinds of things, right? So
Yeah.
just thinking about, like, don't just think about the fact that Sierra Leone only has 7 million people or 8 million people. It's part of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, right? Which now has a population of over 1 billion people because it covers really most of the continent of Africa. And then Sierra Leone has duty free access to larger markets due to the European Union's Everything But Arms initiative, meaning that you can move everything but guns. United States has the African Growth and Opportunity Act, AGOA, which I've heard people have mixed feelings about, but that is another program. So these are all programs Sierra Leone is a part of, and there are more. That if as a Sierra Leonean, you're someone who works for an NGO, or you have experience with NGOs and nonprofits, and you want to tap into um, these groups to utilize your previous experience and your skill set, these are a couple places and market opportunities that you can approach.
Right.
All right, a couple more slides left. My experience with most businesses are the following: there's complacency, arrogance, lack of knowledge, lack of training, government systems are challenging, short-sightedness, customer service, remote management, infrastructure is not there. I mean, these are all pretty self-explanatory, but these lead to challenges with business. What I've heard from advice from CEOs, this is how these businesses do well. And if you have a business that's doing well, these are going to be important things that you want to focus on. One is consistency. Be humble. Train as much as you can. Teach and reteach. Just because you talk to somebody once about it doesn't mean they're going to get it. You're going to have to teach them again. Take everything in stride. Things happen. Nothing goes as planned. You need to be patient. You need to expect to struggle. This right here, I think, is really important. This is something that Shaka Stevens, the guy who has fallen and who's doing the Chevro Island project with Idris Elba, one of the things that he knew when he started his balling party in 2014 in Sierra Leone, he had been doing it elsewhere, was that he knew it was going to take him 5 years. He expected to struggle. By the time it was 2019, it was a huge event, which was the first time I went, and the party is just operates on its own. Teach customer service to your team. Be on the ground and have contingencies in place for sure. Those are all going to be things that are going to ensure that you personally have a better experience, which means you'll stay longer, you'll work harder, you'll hire more people, and you will ensure that you can do your part to progress the country forward.
I agree. If
Yeah,
you're an entrepreneur, I agree with all these things. Even here, wherever you are, you have to do these things, especially if you're back home. So I totally agree.
yeah, exactly. A couple comments people had. So when Knowledge Seeker asked about incompetence, I mentioned improper planning. Knowledge Seeker correctly said improper planning falls under incompetence. That's fair. Dele is saying that China has the technology for the most part and are very partner friendly. So yeah, I think that could be important to really kind of bring some products and goods into Sierra Leone is to partner with China. I know some people who do a lot of work in China and come back and forth. Rashad AK said it's definitely intentional sabotage before and after colonialism. There were infrastructure in places. Sadly, they failed to properly maintain and upgrade those infrastructures. Um, yeah, and Rashad is also saying clicked on the link and was kicked out of the live session. Sorry to hear that. Hopefully you're back. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that's intentional sabotage. I would just say, just shooting yourself in the foot and not really focusing on how to maintain certain things. But yeah, I agree. Okay, cool. I mean, these are many of the solutions that are in place. Let me see if I'm missing anything before we move on. I don't want to be missing anything. Oh, I learned a lot of lessons. Don't be cheap. If it sounds too good to be true, it is. Ask questions. These are all things that you can do. I don't want to go through each one of these, but these are all things you can do to ensure that you maximize your ability to enjoy your time in Sierra Leone. And if you do, that will ensure that you will stay longer, visit more, encourage more people to visit, uh, employ more people, and just build an ecosystem around ensuring that we do progress the country forward.
Love it. Thank you, Joe. Let me see if anybody commented.
Sure, no problem.
They had kicked my phone out too. There was Salon Queen 95 had made comments about the beaches when
Okay.
you were talking about like the five main potential economic, yeah.
Okay.
But I can't even see that comment because I was kicked out. But Fizzle on Instagram said, "Can you talk about the unemployment rate or the amount of available jobs in the country?" That's a good topic we can talk about next time.
Yes, we can add that to the list of topics we discuss. Um,
Thank you, Fizzle. Fizzle. I don't even know how to say it.
so
I
you
did
know,
butcher the name there.
mhm. So as in terms of topics, right? We can talk about for next time. And by the way, we are open to more suggestions and ideas for topics, right? So please
Yes,
make sure you
please.
send us your topics and ideas. The last few weeks we did some topical stuff. This topic in particular came from Admire, and so if you have more, we're more than happy to talk about them. So one was the solutions, the 63 solutions. We can break those into parts. And then this one, what was the question that they wanted us to talk about? Oh, unemployment.
Unemployment, the unemployment rate or the amount of available jobs. I'm gonna screenshot it, so, you know, add it onto the list of topics. But yeah,
Okay. Yeah, I just took a note of it just so I can keep it to myself. Yeah, cool.
and if
Um,
you would like to be a guest on the live, please reach out to Joe and or myself, and let's make it happen. Please, we would love to have you as a guest, and
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. And you can say your email real quick so we can shout it out to make sure if people they want to be on the live, they can reach out to us on the email. Let me make an adjustment. Um,
Okay, you guys can reach out to Sierra Leoneans Killing It at gmail.com. Let me double check that, make sure it's the right email. Hold on.
is
Um, no, it wasn't the right email. The right email is slkillingit at gmail.com. So if you have any topic suggestions, you would like to join us on the panel to discuss these topics, you would like to be a guest on the panel, please email us. Well, me, you can reach out to Joe or myself. My email is slkillingit at gmail.com. And what's your email, Joe?
It's rolling at the bottom of the screen right there. Just did it in real time. There we go. AuthenticAfricanLife@gmail.com. So if you want to join us on the live,
Awesome.
you can you can do AuthenticAfricanLife@gmail.com or slkillingit@gmail.com. So it's there for you. If you want to book us for our services, Admire, if somebody wants to get their um,
Oh yes, if you want to get your hair done, braids. I specialize in box braids and cornrows. I do not braid tight. Shampoo and braiding hair is included for all my services. I also travel, so I am based in Houston, Pearland, Texas. But if you are watching us from Houston or the Pearland area and you love braids, please reach out, book an appointment. You can go to my Instagram page, which is She Is Admire. My link is there, my booking link. All information you need is there. I advise you read my booking policy before you book an appointment. And if you have any questions, my business number is on there as well. Do not hesitate to text me. Do not DM, please. Text my business phone. I'll respond faster on the business phone. I am wired to like be on the business phone more. So yeah.
absolutely. And I will say if you want any of my services, so if you need help moving to Sierra Leone, renting in Sierra Leone, buying land, all of those kinds of things, you want to consult with me, you can email me at AuthenticAfricanLife@gmail.com. We can set up a consultation. I'm more than happy to walk you through that process, what it looks like. And then separately from that, I can also help you grow your social media platform. So set up a consultation with me. We can do that as well. I have a social media agency. We can run your social media on your behalf. And what else am I missing in terms of my services? Those are the main ones. You can also book me as an influencer if you want to do that as well. So yeah, those are all the services that I provide. Anything you want to know, just email either Admire as slkillingit@gmail.com or email myself at AuthenticAfricanLife@gmail.com. Huh.
Yep, yep. Thank you guys to everyone who tuned in from the Sierra Leoneans Killing It page. Please continue to share the page, continue to tune in. I know this is new talking about this stuff, but we would love for you guys to tune in and engage with us more. Also, share the live. If you missed the live, you can catch it on YouTube, Authentic African, or Sierra Leoneans Killing It on YouTube as well. So please, you guys, we would love for more of you to join the lives and engage with us. And thank you to everyone who has been engaging and participating. And thank you to Joe for giving us all this information that a lot of it I had no idea. So like it's a lot of knowledge being shared. So you're really appreciated. Thank you so much for everything that you're doing and like sharing,
Absolutely.
enlightening us. Because Baku, when they watch this live, we not know nothing. We just gonna talk. Oh, salon de bien, salon this, salon that. We don't know
Right.
nothing because
Right.
we don't even like to read, which is bad because reading is fundamental.
100%.
So
Yeah. Well, I'm
thank
happy to
you.
help. This is Sierra Leone is I'm passionate about Sierra Leone. I decided to move there almost a year ago, like a week ago, and I would still be there if not for a number of different things that were going on personally. But yeah, I mean, I'm more than happy to do this kind of stuff because I think it's important for us to all work together to see the country that we love
Yeah,
be at its rightful place on the world stage. And it's going to take a collective effort to do that. And so whatever I can do to help, whether it's offering this kind of insight or help to interview folks who have other insight, I'm going to do the best I can. So I'm glad it's appreciated and I'm happy to help. And thank you for agreeing to do this so that we can, bring the two platforms together and we can have these conversations to make sure we enlighten all. So
no
yes.
problem at all.
All right, cool. Well, with that, guys, thanks for watching. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe to both our channels. Make sure you head over to Sierra Leoneans Killing It on YouTube and subscribe to that channel. It's a
I know I
newly
haven't
formed
promoted
channel.
it.
It's a newly formed channel. She's been on Instagram since 2016, as she mentioned. So now YouTube is the new platform she's working to build up. And so we're gonna need you guys to go over and subscribe to Sierra Leoneans Killing It on YouTube. And you know what the logo looks like, so you can't miss it. So go ahead and subscribe. All
Thank
right,
you,
cool.
thank you, thank
Of
you
course.
guys so much for tuning in. See you guys next week.
Yeah, see you guys next week. Oh, by the way, Mondays are the planned day to go live. This last Monday, some stuff was going on, so we're planning to go live on Monday, same time every week. So with that, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys all next week.
Bye,
Bye,
guys.
guys.